Welcome back for your September reading. If you're new, welcome. If you want to follow the channel, we have regular live sessions. So if you're wanting to come through and join us and you've got a question, click the bell. Now, hopefully you guys have come through August unscathed. I know it was a very heavy month and we still have some of that energy moving through. Financially speaking, there is more of an aspect where we can actually manifest that cash component. So that is coming through more in a sense that we are going to have that aspect of creativity, but there still is the very strict energy of Saturn and other planets working where we're still doing the work. And this really is a year where we're going to be doing that work the whole way through. So we're still going to have pockets where we're going to have breaks in between and we're going to be able to apply that energy to our life. But there's still times where we're going to have to be, you know, very mindful of the energies and the frequencies that are physically coming up on us. Now, I have pulled the cards ahead of time, but I'll collectively tune into what I'm feeling for you guys, and you know, there's some areas I will pull clarifiers on. Now, energetically speaking for you guys, I feel you're at a left or right with the situation. It feels as though you're looking at, for some of you, it is a relationship, and you're having a look at how that directly relates to you and what you're wanting out of the situation. A lot of us are still directly looking back to the past, and we may have been meditating upon that last month, and we still may be doing an aspect of that to a degree now. But there can be some things where you've already gained the clarity, but you might not have acted directly upon that clarity. And, you know, a lot of times the universe gives us several warnings. Now, it can be our higher self is actually directly talking to us and we're hearing it, but we're not directly acting upon it. It can be then a secondary stage, which is a 3D experience we directly have. And, you know, if we're still then not listening to that higher self and us listening to our intuition in that direct area, what then does happen is the third cycle comes through, which is then it can be a tower moment or an actualization of our affairs coming to fruition, so to speak. You are going to need to keep as grounded as possible during this season. It's a bit like a purging season, if you want to call it that. And that will come in intervals. It's not going to be like every single day. And especially the more you are spiritually and emotionally evolving. Now, when I say spiritually evolving, you know, there's always that kind of connotation connected to a person who's spiritual looks a certain way. Every person has an aspect of that within their core self. It's our personal belief systems. It's the routines and the way in which we live our life, as well as our external and higher self and the way we are communicating with ourselves. It's many other things, obviously, but you guys you have heart chakra activation coming through. So you guys are going to need to be very compassionate towards yourselves, and it can be a time where you may be very triggered, emotionally speaking, with people around you. So, you know, you're going to have to try and really gain that compassion towards yourself and towards situations around you. It is a very testing time for you, especially being tied, and especially with your trust connected to other individuals around you. Now, you had two cards come out. You also do need to listen to your higher self and your intuition. This can very much be your third eye being activated and your higher self knowing how something's going to go. But you need to, with this energy, be compassionate to the people around you with this higher calling of what you need to do in a connection. Now, you have something in mind of what you believe a spiritual connection is. For some of you, this might not be with the current person you're with, and that's not for all of you. But for some of you, it may be that you feel spiritually you're not with the person you're supposed to be with. Now, we'll get into it and we'll see how this directly relates. It may be you're not where you need to be, but as I said, we'll get into it. Now, the energy you're coming in with is in your head. So it's in your mind of what you're wanting. It's what your higher self is saying you're moving towards. You're trying to get this clarity and guidance, and you're trying to have compassion towards yourself through this transformation spiritually, and it's becoming very testing. Now, you know, the lotus really, in a sense, is feminine energy. So for some of you, it can be towards a feminine energy. You're needing to have aspects of compassion. And you can perhaps, for those of you who are male watching this reading, it can be that you're seeing a beauty in a person who you feel a spiritual connection to. For those of you who are feminine energies, it's that you can see the transformation happening within yourself, but you also see the beauty and the value and the potentiality of the transformation in this person that you feel a spiritual connection to. That can be you with them or not, okay? Now, what you're not seeing is that you're avoiding an ending. So some sense of ending is coming about, and it hasn't ended yet. So it might be a karmic cycle, a lesson in energy. Excuse me. It also is something that, how do I put it? As though you feel, if this is a past tense person, you feel it's over and you're trying to gain clarity, but the energy is saying it's not over, but you can't see it, so you're really questioning what on earth is going on. They're trying to bring loose ends together. Now, others of you, it can be that what you're not seeing is, you know, we'll read it first and then I'll get to it. Okay. In your pursuits of what you're moving towards. Now, this can be any blocks that you got going on, as well as what you're trying to move towards. So whatever energy comes through, I'll relay it for you. Now, I feel you're looking at situations. It can be the person you're in love with, and I do feel this comes across as a love reading for you guys this month. Very heavy love reading, but we'll see how it directly relates. You're looking at a person internally who you feel was a bit irresponsible. Now, it can be the energy that you feel you were. It can go vice versa, but connected to what you were passionate about, there is an aspect of a rebellious, foolish energy coming through. Now, that can be of the person you're thinking about, or perhaps of what your nature used to be and where it's come to, connected to something that you were passionate about, be it work or love. Now, some cycle is rolling around, okay? It is causing stress. It is a karmic cycle. So you may have got yourself into a karmic situation of a lesson in some shape or form. And that can be in any area of your life. Energy that we learn through, karmic is a very harsh word. It can also be a lesson, a spiritual lesson we need to physically learn in order for us to spiritually evolve to that next level and move ourselves in a correct direction. You weren't prepared for this energy and it makes you feel uneasy. Now, again, this still can be a past tense energy because some of the planets are still retrograde, especially connected to us seeing things very clearly and strictly. As well as, you know, emotionally digging into the deep abyss of those pains from the past. You know, it still will be a residue of that there. And then we'll be moving into the retrograde of Venus, which will then bring more clarity to that energy. Financially speaking, you're having to do a lot of healing in this area. Now, you're trying to take the power back in your life, as well as moving yourself in a way that is bringing a balance to your life. Now, the healing in this area is that there's potential this month to gain more. You're being more cautious about what you use your cash with, but you're having to have faith in the situation that it is changing, but it's not going to happen overnight. Be very careful in the way you use your money. Be careful, karmically speaking, that you're doing it in a correct manner, especially if you're in a connection. Because if you are trying to prepare yourself for something, energies of chin wagging can actually get around. So try and keep your energy as balanced as possible. This can be on the other side as well of something that is going on with the person that you're actually thinking about. Can even be a past tense situation and you're thinking back to that time and trying to heal over it. Now, in your health area, you're very concerned about, it can be fear-based situations of when perhaps you had abandonment-related issues, and they're coming up in a trigger point You know, and you're needing to have compassion to this healing process. It can be compassion towards people in the past that you had felt an aspect of abandonment, or you had felt an energy at childhood of, you know, can I have that nurturing and security? Is it okay? And it can be the slightest of things that can come up on a trigger point. Now, if it's coming up in highlight for you emotionally speaking this month, I do feel there's elements directly connected to family where you're trying to bind and bond that situation to keep it to a very balanced level. But you're going to have courage in this area to address that aspect of healing so you can move yourself to the next level. Now, it does feel challenging. It feels as though when the trigger points do come up, it can be very heavy and you're thinking, God, are we going back here again? Do we really have to go back into that energy frequency? Now, the guidance is going to be, you're going to be supported from the environment around you. Now, that can either be in the shape or form of support, of communication, of talking with people, and almost gaining the direction through what you're learning through your own chakra. So it can be in your talk about the situation, you speaking your truth about the situation. It's going to help you understand what your mindset was like in that area and what your thought process is connected to your health as a whole. You know, what your belief systems are about. It can be very mental based. And when I say that, I'm talking more from the perspective of not even a mind over matter. Blocks in certain chakras can prevent, you know, any balancing of your energy. It can even balance, it can even block aspects of weight loss if that's what you're wanting to do. So those emotional blocks are as important as food and exercise. So by clearing your chakras, that can actually help you spiritually move forward, because you don't have those things like chains wrapped to you physically that are going to prevent you from actually spiritually and emotionally moving forward. Now, the motion forward can be taking steps if you do have any aspects of habits where you spiritually choose to directly look at them and you say, hey, I don't think this is serving me any longer. What can I physically do to remove this as a block within my energy? And it's going to be individual for each one of you. Now, in your working life or what you're directly working towards, you're really unsure about what you're wanting to, but you're definitely not wanting to work towards this card. Okay, now when I'm saying this, I'm going to tune into it a bit further. It feels like the people you may be working with can be at times quite malicious. It can be that if you are running a business, you have staff members that can be not reliable, agitated and flighty. Now, you're going to have to gain the clarity about what directly is going on. That's really going to benefit you if you are in a business-related environment. Also, if you're in a team environment, by you gaining the clarity of their physical perspective, it's going to help the way you deal with your energy relating to them. It might be you need to white light yourself and remove yourself from the circle and not socialize. In order to keep yourself grounded, go for a walk and try and remove yourself from the location if you need to. But it can be that you're also looking at the past of how that directly impacted your mindset in your career moving forward. Now, if this is a love life kind of scenario of what you're working towards or a family related dynamic, you can't be bothered with the petty crap in situations because you are spiritually evolving. So anything to that degree is going to really directly impact you if you can't manage your energy and keep yourself as grounded as possible. And I wouldn't say go into hermit mode and retreat away from it, because by dealing with the challenges, you're removing the obstacles. You can't change a person's mindset, but you can allow them know that the standard and the benchmark is at a certain location. You do have the actions and tools to keep that situation balanced and come to a place where you don't tolerate anything that you feel is offside. Now, spiritually speaking, in a way, you are feeling semi-trapped, but it is a mindset. And remember, I did mention that in the health department, and I did mention it when it comes to you having compassion towards yourself and looking at the past and healing so you can move forward. You are very nostalgic internally within your spirit during this purging. And anything that comes up connected to family, there's good and bad energy in there. So there's sadness, perhaps, you know, of maybe what you had wished certain dynamics were with childhood. But there is also that other side of it, that there's great memories as well in certain pockets. You're trying to be understanding towards yourself that you're moving through this and it's going to be for the best. But at times you really do wish for simpler times and wish it was back to that energy, a lighter energy, whatever that may be, at what age bracket that was. Now, romantically speaking, you're being very private, very private. You are grounded. You have done a lot of internal work. You do need to give yourself credit for that. So you might be hiding things, and and it can be your emotions. It doesn't have to be anything to a skeleton in the closet, but some energy can be as to that. But it's almost like you're hiding some emotions inside. Do be super careful, because it can be like a ticking time bomb, especially with your vibration being nostalgic and feeling stuck. I do feel if there's any aspect of suppression, be it in a partnership you're in, and that doesn't have to be that they're doing that to you. I feel it's more a free choice. You're holding this energy to hold everything quite balanced. Now, it may come to a point where the donkey's back breaks and the conversation comes about. If you can't ground yourself, however, and you can't gain your higher self calling in a sense of, you know, feeling that support and that love, emotionally speaking, and you start having signs or you feel directly guided to act in a particular way, it is divinely guided and it was what was meant to be. Now, something of a nature of an aspect of jealousy is within this connection. And if you can get grounded, it can remove that. And it doesn't have to be that it's you. And also for those of you who are single, it can be that you are reflecting back to that and this person is feeling quite jealous of you. But I feel if that's such, it could be either way. It's either you're feeling this about the fact that you're waiting for this partner to come in and something is delayed, or it is them feeling this towards you. Now, in a coupled situation, there can be very critical energies and conversations and miscommunication going on, and frustrations about whose role is what. It is taking a lot of effort to get the balance, and it isn't that there's no potential within it, nor for those of you who are waiting for this person to come in, but because you have done so much healing and you're so very frustrated, I'm hearing, it's taking a lot to have the tolerance for people who are choosing not to do what they need to do. And, you know, in the spiritual domain, those of us who have been on this very long road of evolving and spiritually growing, at times it's not so much you may not be humble, it can be that frustrating level of the last hay, you know, on the haystack, and it's breaking it. Either you or this person emotionally feels that you're handling too many situations, and it's just like something after another, and it's like, is this ever going to stop? It's causing a great deal of frustration, and you're really wanting the clarity as to when things are going to start moving forward so the balance can come back. For some of you where the weather is warm, you'll find as the season changes, you will start feeling that vibration. For some of you, you will be going more into a hermit mode, a cocoon mode, where you are evolving even further. For others of you, as the temperature heats up, I'm finding a difference and a vitality in the energy coming through. Now, this person at some point in time felt like they just weren't quite ready. So they're dealing with those energies. Now, this can be a past tense person as well. Even if you are within a relationship right now, these energies that are coming through may be things you're meditating upon, not necessarily though. But the partner that you're with, if you are with somebody, I'll pull some clarifiers. I feel as though at some point something happened in your connection. They weren't quite ready. Those of you who are single and you're waiting for a person to come back from the past, this is the energy they're meditating upon. They do feel bad about that. In some things where they feel they've been spiritually thrown in the deep end, it's really about them, not you. Now, you may have a person that is a Pisces around you. You also may have a journey coming up. You're wanting something to move forward, but I feel this is more to do with you knowing what direction you want to take and thinking about who a spiritual connection is and what it directly looks like, because you've got the Chariot card, okay? So big changes are coming. But within the aspect of the jealousy, it can be you're looking at this saying, hey, can this be sorted? You know, can this get back to a balanced situation? For some of you, it might be an external situation going on where it's directly impacting the current relationship you're in, and you're saying, you know, when is this balance going to come about so life can move on accordingly? Others of you are thinking back to this and you're frustrated and you're wondering when this is going to come to a correct balance so you can have a connection or a union. Now, you're being very fair and understanding with this, and some sense of judgment is going to be made. But there can be an aspect of like stagnation or boredom or, you know, really reminiscing over the past and thinking back to simpler times. But your partner is very much overcoming these old ways of doing things, and they are evolving spiritually, be it coupled or single. Both of you are very worried about the longevity of this situation and if it can come back into balance. And again, because you're purging, it is quite natural. And both of you are very worried about losing each other or you losing somebody else. So it's two energies coming through. Remember, this is a collective energy, and depending on what your rising signs are, certain messages won't resonate with you, and you will need to look at your rising signs or the person who you're thinking about. Listen to their signs. Otherwise, come through and book a reading and we can tune into it further. But I do feel a frustration where something directly has to give, and you're feeling as though it just can't keep going in this format, although your healing is kind of moving through and evolving. So I'll leave it at that. There are mid-month readings as well, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, jump through and book a reading. Bye.